What is up, guys? Doomwake here. Welcome back to another modern video here on the channel. As always, before we continue, if you enjoy the content, be sure to hit that subscribe button, drop a like in the video, and let me know in the comment section below what you think of the video. Have you been enjoying all of this awesome Modern Horizons 2 content as much as I have? Because I've been having a blast the past few days, and the channel's been growing, and it's been a ton of fun, and I'm glad that I can share all of this with you. And there's more to come, trust me. We got plenty of stuff on the horizon. Lots of awesome new cards have been injected into the format. It's kind of like the format has been given a new, given some CPR, you know. There was a couple of periods of time where Modern was all about, first it was Uro and Mystic Sanctuary, then it was all about Valky and Tybalt's Trickery, and then even the past couple of months after all the bans shook out, it's been a lot of Blue-Red Prowess versus Heliod, and you know, it's felt kind of stale past couple of months. The format felt like it was kind of figured out, and it's like a breath of fresh air, and it's been awesome. So as you can see here, what we have today is a Orzhov deck, white-black. We are I guess, I'm not sure what exactly to call this. I guess we're more of a Ephemerate Blink deck than we are a Stoneforge Mystic deck, but we do have Stoneforge Mystic, which is sort of a mainstay in Modern ever since it got unbanned, because the combination of Stoneforge Mystic tutoring up Batterskull and then putting Batterskull into play for 2 mana gives you a huge discount. So that's a very good avenue. So we have Stoneforge Mystic plus Batterskull, and the Stoneforge Mystics got a new little toy in the Modern Horizons 2, Cauldron Complete. So 7-mana artifact, similar to Batterskull, high converted mana cost, but if you put it into play with Stoneforge Mystic, you can cheat the mana cost. It has Living Weapon, so it comes into play with a little 0/0. So it is, when you get it with Stoneforge Mystic, you put it into play the next turn. It is a 5/5, first strike, trample, indestructible, haste, and whenever it deals combat damage to a creature, exile that creature. So unkillable, unblockable, very, very powerful avenue against, so a lot of the times with Batterskull, you would get to a spot where, you know, you're playing against control and you got Batterskull. You would have to wait a turn to put it into play and then wait a turn to attack with it. But with Cauldron Complete, you just put the heat on right away. You just, get in there for 5. Matches up very well against a lot of creatures, specifically Urza's Saga. I've been playing a lot of Urza's Saga decks, the Food, Underworld Cookbook, Asmo, whatever you want to call it, decks. And I have had a very hard time trying to beat Cauldron Complete, because the Cauldron Complete itself is indestructible, so you can't Force of Vigor it or Disenchant it like you normally would with other artifacts. And it blocks constructs very well. It blocks Feasting Troll King very well. It's just hard to get into combat with this, nearly impossible. And if you ever put a Batterskull on it, now you have a 9/9 lifelink, vigilance with all of those abilities. It's just impossible for a lot of decks to beat. So a nice new addition to the Stoneforge decks gives them a bit of a more aggressive angle of attack, so that's nice. And then our third equipment that we're choosing to go with today is Maul of the Skyclaves. I'm not 100% sold on this versus other options like Sword of Fire and Ice, Sword of Feast and Famine, potentially even the new Green-White Sword, because the Green-White Sword can blink one of your creatures. That could be a cool addition. But Maul is good, I think, especially right now, given how saturated the format is with Urza's Saga. You can just fly over construct tokens. Whereas if you put, let's say, Sword of Feast and Famine on a Solitude or a Grief, they can still just block it with constructs. So I kind of like the Maul of the Skyclaves if there's going to be so much Urza Saga going around, so that kind of makes a lot of sense to me. So that is the Stoneforge package. Now, the rest of the deck, we got a lot of stuff going on here. I'm going to try and sort it into piles. So we have our quote-unquote blink spells. So Ephemerate is 1 mana, exile a creature you control, then return it to the battlefield, right? Not till the next end step, it just comes right back into play, and then it has Rebound, which means you can cast it again on your turn. Malachite Rebirth, not quite a blink sort of effect, but it says 1 mana. It's also a land, so you can kind of have more lands over here, so you can get away with playing a little bit less lands. Normally a deck like this would probably want to play 23 lands, but because we have some additional lands here, we can get away with playing a little bit less. So it's 1 mana, you choose a creature, you lose 2 life. Until end of turn, that creature gains. When this creature dies, return it to the battlefield tapped. So if, let's say, your opponent Fatal Pushes your creature, you can cast this on it, and it returns to the battlefield tapped. Undying Evil, similar sort of effect. You give a creature Undying for 1 mana, which is, Undying means when it dies, if it had no +1/+1 counters on it, return it to the battlefield with a counter on it. So these sort of serve similar purposes. And then Charming Prince has some similar usage with Ephemerate, but it also just has some additional utility. Gain 3 life against aggressive decks. Scry 2 if you need to find a spell. So that's sort of our Blink package. Now, the reason we're playing a lot of these Blink cards, I guess you can sort of throw Flicker Wisp in there as well. But the reason we're playing these Blink cards is the new free spells. So we have some Solitudes and some Griefs going on here. Now, what do these cards do? So Grief is a 4-mana 3/2 menace. When it enters the battlefield, your opponent reveals their hand. You choose a non-land card from it. They discard it. All right, well, you normally wouldn't play a card like that. It's not a good rate. However, you can evoke it, which means you can cast it for free. So basically, if you pay the evoke cost, which is exile a black card from your hand, you can pay evoke cost instead of mana cost. So you can choose to exile a black card from your hand and evoke it for 0 mana. Now, what evoke says is when it comes into play, sacrifice it. That's what evoke says, right? We have Shriekmaws over here to give you the reminder text on evoke. You may cast a spell for its evoke cost. If you do, sacrifice it when it enters the battlefield. So a cool trick with these cards, Solitude is the other evoke creature. 3/2 flash lifelink. When it comes into play, exile up to one of the target creature. Creature's controller gains life equal to its power. So Swords to Plowshares-esque, right? And the cool trick with these is if you, let's say, Grief, evoke, exile a black card from your hand. So you can do this on turn 1, by the way. You go turn 1, play your first land, evoke Grief, okay? Enters the battlefield. There's 2 triggers that are created. The 2 triggers are the evoke trigger, which is sacrifice it when it comes into play, and enters the battlefield, your opponent reveals their hand. So you put the triggers in the stack, and you respond to the triggers. You can even, if your opponent has mana available, what you can actually do is resolve the discard trigger first. So you look at their hand, check for a removal spell, and then still with the evoke trigger on the stack, you can cast one of your Ephemerate, Malakir Rebirth, or Undying Evil, which will immediately return it to the battlefield. Now, the nice thing about when it returns to the battlefield, there's no longer an evoke cost because you're doing this all before the original evoke trigger. So, when it comes back, you get an additional look at their hand, you take an additional card, but you don't have to sacrifice it anymore. So, that is something that is really awesome with these new evoke cards. Right? That's why we're playing so many copies of these 1 mana, essentially return your thing to the battlefield or blink it, because it's so unbelievably powerful with these evoke creatures. So that is the interaction that we're going for, and then the remainder of our deck, Skyclave Apparition, just easy mainstay in white decks since it's printing. 3 mana 2/2, exile non-land permanent with 4 CMC with 4 mana value or less. When it leaves the battlefield, they get a token equal to the mana value. And another nice thing about Skyclave, there's 2 separate triggers, right? So let's say you have 4 mana available. You can play Skyclave Apparition, 1 mana available. You can then put the triggers on the stack, right? Put the exile up to 1 target non-land permanent on the stack. If you ephemerate it with that trigger on the stack, right? The leaves the battlefield trigger will be put on the stack as well. So what ends up, and you get to exile a second permanent. So now you've exiled 2 permanents. The original leaves the battlefield trigger resolves, but there's nothing under the Skyclave Apparition. So you essentially get to kill 2 things, but they don't get the token from the first thing that you kill. So that's a really nice interaction with Skyclave Apparition. 2 Shriekmaws, again, sort of to go with the, you can evoke this for 2 mana, hold up one of your 1 mana things to either blink it or get it back into play. 1 Kaya's Guile just as additional removal / graveyard hate. This kind of is just like a Swiss Army knife, if you will. It does pretty much everything, gains you some life, has a lot of text and a lot of good utility in a different number of matchups. We have one more card that we can blink here, Callous Blood Mage. So I copied this deck list from a 5. I made a couple of changes. I didn't choose to cut the Callous Blood Mage because I wanted to see how it plays out. It's kind of a innocuous card. Like, you wouldn't really pay 3 mana for a 2/1 with any one of these 3 abilities. Make a 1/1, draw a card, lose a life, or exile target player's graveyard. The reason that you're playing it is, 1, because of the options, right? it's the most one of the more powerful things in Magic is options, right? When you play a card like Fire Ice, for example, in our last video, just having the ability to do multiple different things makes the card more powerful because it's going to be better in more spots, right? And then obviously it has Enter the Battlefield trigger. We're playing a bunch of Ephemerates, so you can do stuff with that too. So that's kind of the weakest, I would say, the weakest card in the deck. I think I would, depending on how this card goes in the league that we're about to play, I would consider cutting it for a second copy of Kaya's Guile, but we'll see how it plays out. And then our mana base, nothing crazy here. We have just, I'll go over the flex, the sort of the spicy, not spicy, but the utility lands, if you will. So we got one Castle Locthwain, just to be able to, when we're running out of cards, kind of get into the late game, grind a little bit better. And then one copy of Shambling Vent, again, same thing when you're flooding out. Just nice to have access to. And then 3 Silent Clearings, again, same thing when you're flooding out. Nice to have ability to cycle through and draw some extra cards. And then just to go over the sideboard really quickly, a lot of these are fairly straightforward. I will go over the newest edition here, 4 copies of Kataki War's Wage. Now, this might seem like a lot of this card because it is a 2-mana legendary creature. However, with the ubiquity of Urza Saga in the metagame, there is a ton of affinity, a ton of hardened scales, a ton of the not Urza, but Asmo food decks, and Kataki is kind of lights out against all of those decks. So, because those are such huge players in the metagame, I think it makes sense to play 4 copies of this because it's just the best possible card against them. So we're going to go ahead and see how that goes. We have our Graveyard Hate here, 2 copies of Rest in Peace. Again, those are good against the Living End decks, good against Feasting Troll King, the food decks of sort. Probably comes up in some other spots too. 3 copies of Auriok Champion against Prowess, Burn, Shadow, just anybody playing red and black cards. 3 copies of Fulminator Mage. Now, I know that there is a new addition in Modern Horizons 2 and Break the Ice as a sort of 2-mana Stone Rain effect against Urzatron. The really nice thing about Fulminator Mage is because we're playing 4 Malakir Rebirth and 2 Undying Evil, which both, when a creature dies, bring it back to play. Really good in combination with Fulminator Mage if you can play it with a mana open. So that's why we're choosing to go with Fulminator Mage over the normal Stone Rain effects or anti-Tron cards you would see. 2 copies of Fatal Push for removal against Shadow, Prowess, all that stuff. And then 1 copy of Fracturing Gust. The original deck list that I saw had Cleansing Nova. I think this is probably just a better version of Cleansing Nova. It is kind of awkward because obviously we're a Stoneforge Mystic deck and we have Maul of the Skyclaves and Batterskull. However, when you cast this card, usually it wins the game on the spot. So even if you have to blow up a Batterskull or a Maul of the Skyclaves, probably not the biggest deal in the world. So just a nice little misers one of to try and get you. But that is the deck list. So with that, again, I will put a link in the description below if you want to text file the deck list, and be sure to check out the Twitch stream as well. The Twitch stream has been popping off lately. I'm going to drop a link for that in the description below. And with that, I will see you back in just a little bit for round number 1. All right, YouTube, back here for round number 1 of our League with White Black Ephemerate. This hand does not have any of the Ephemerate, Grief, Solitude stuff, but we do have a turn 2 Stoneforge with a Skyclave and a Flicker Wisp. I think this hand's good enough. On the draw, I wish I was in the play with turn 2 Stoneforge, but take what you can get. I think this hand is just barely keepable, but obviously the issue with this hand is we have the Cauldron in our opening hand, which is kind of a stone blank because we already have the Mystic, and I would want to get the complete anyways. I mean, obviously it's kind of nice that we can just get the Batterskull, but let's see, hopefully I don't have Temple plus Thought-Knots here. That would have been bad. Matter Reshaper, the most unbeatable card in Modern. Alright, Stoneforge Mystic. I think I'm still going to get Batterskull over Maul of the Skyclaves, because Cauldron just kind of brickwalls other creatures anyway, so I don't need to put Maul on it. Batterskull's a little bit more defensive. Also, if they draw Thought-Knots here, I'd much rather have both of these in my hand, because they're both very good against, their creature base. And I'd rather make it so that, like, let's say I get the Maul, they just snap take Cauldron, and then I have a Maul left over, which isn't nearly as good as a Batterskull left over. Because they have to take Cauldron, I think. I guess that's not true if they have Dismember. because this thing is a lot worse at, like, you can pay 3 to put the Batterskull into your hand, so if they have something like Dismember, they get to kill the 5/5, and I can't pick it up like I would be able to Batterskull, but it does give them a tough decision. Also, if they take an equipment, I might just Skyclave their Thought-Knots here, so that's something they also have to consider. But if they take Skyclave, then I slam Cauldra. I don't know. This hand is really tough. It's really good against Thought-Knots here. They decided to take the Cauldra, and now I have to choose... I don't know why they didn't attack. Feels like a free attack there. And now I have to choose between Skyclave and Batterskull. So Skyclave is bad if they have a second Thought-Knots here, because then they get to take the Batterskull. But even if they do that, then I just flicker the Skyclave, kill the other Thought-Knots here. So I think I'd rather just be mana efficient here and just Skyclave. I hit F6, but I could have played Grief there and pitched the Rebirth if I wanted to play around a second Thought-Knot Seer. Might have been better to do it that way. Actually, that probably was better. I wanted to, like, potentially hold up Grief plus Rebirth next turn, but it's probably better to just... Well, they had Warping Whale. I mean, that's fine, because I can just hardcast this. I'm getting close to 5 mana anyways. We have another Reshaper. That doesn't matter. I think I am going to hardcast Grief here because they didn't play a spell. I wonder if they had Karn the Great Creator, would they have played it over Warping Whale plus Reshaper? Probably. So their last card could be, obviously it could be a land. Other cards they couldn't cast that turn include... It actually makes sense for them to not play Smasher there, right? Because if they play Smasher, I kind of just Brickwall with the Batterskull next turn, because the Stoneforge is still in play. So they definitely could have Smasher. Could be other uncastables last turn would be All Is Dust, Ugin the Ineffable. So it's probably one of those 3 cards. Other spells, like maybe another Warping Whale, Dismember. I think I'm just going to play the Grief. Obviously, it's not worth rebirthing it because they only have 1 card. I do think playing Grief is okay here, because then I could just Brickwall the Reshapers with Batterskull next turn. Alright, they did have the Smasher, so we had the right read. Sort of. Let's see what they draw. I will take 6. Thought-Knots here is the 1 card we don't want to see, because then they just take Batterskull. Alright, looks like they did not draw Thought-Knots here. That was a really good draw. I think I'm still slamming Batterskull here. It's like a little risky, but... Because if they drew Dismember, they can Dismember the Germ token. And then obviously we're dead to Smasher at that point, but... But now if they Dismember, we just take 6, and then it's okay. Drew the Callous Blood Mage. So I think I'm just going to flicker the Grief, because I don't want to attack. I don't want to give them Matter Reshaper triggers, and what I can do is if I flicker the Grief, I can then see if their hand has a removal spell in it. If it doesn't, then I can potentially Ephemerate the Grief afterwards, and then set up Batterskull equipped to Flicker Wisp next turn. So let's just lead on Flicker Wisp and see what happens. And I'm just going to hold up Ephemerate plus Rebirth. I guess I could exile the Skyclave and then Skyclave one of the Reshapers, but I think I like this better. Alright, they have 2 lands. I want to draw step the Ephemerate on the Grief? Yeah, because even if they drew a removal spell, it's not that bad. They drew a Chalice. Alright, let's go ahead and pop one of these Silent Clearings, because I have 5 mana to equip Batterskull anyways. What are we ephemerating? I guess just the Skyclave at this point. Sure, it's fine. Target that. I think I'd rather them have a vanilla 4/4 than a 3/2 that draws them a card. So let me just go to town with this Flicker Wisp. Basically, I'm just not going to let them kill this. And then we should have lethal next turn because this has Menace. So they have to spend 2 blockers here, and we have 4 total attackers. And this is just 7 guaranteed damage. So we should be good. Outside of them drawing, I guess, exactly all his dust. Well, probably lose all his dust, but they didn't draw it. Alright. Game 2 against Eldrazi Tron. Fracturing Gust is quite good against them. They have Chalice the Void, they have Ensnaring Bridge. I guess it's not insane, but I think it's good enough that I want it. And probably Fulminator Mage. And what is bad against them? I like Kazgal because... Well, actually, no, I don't like Kazgal because they have Matter Reshaper to blank the Edict effect. And the rest of the abilities just don't do anything. Make a 1/1, gain 4, exile their graveyard. Not really relevant. Similar thing with Blood Mage. Just kind of low impact. Don't really think it's accomplishing much in this matchup. And the last 2 cuts... I think I've been just trimming on Charming Prince when in doubt, because I think it's just the weakest card in your deck. So let's go with this. See how this does. There is some consideration to trim on the Ephemerate, Rebirth, Undying Evil stuff because they have Chalice of the Void. But, I don't know. I think I'd rather have... That stuff is higher upside than Charming Prince, for the most part. Let's see what we have. We have some Skyclaves and a Shriek Maw. I'll keep this. It's not the most explosive hand, but Skyclave is quite good. We have an answer to Reality Smasher. Basically, if they play turn 2 or turn 3 Thought-Knots here, you just have a million answers for it. We have Skyclave to kill Karn. Like, I think this hand is just fine. It's not exciting, but I think it's just okay. Alright, I'm not going to cast that. I'm going to try and wait to find a Flicker effect. Especially, I guess if they tap out for Chalice, then we can't do that, but... Huh. Well, that's good. So now what I can do is play Grief, look at their hand, and then check for a removal spell. Yeah. Alright, so Evoke on the stack. Take a peek at their hands. They have 0 removal spells. Again, given how many answers we have to Thought-Knots here, I'm just going to take the 2 Karns. Yeah, I'm just going to take the 2 Karns. Because even if they draw a Temple and play a Thought-Knots here, we have 2 Skyclaves, so I think it's fine. They drew a map, which is not bad. That's a good draw. The question is, are we exiling their map? Yeah, I think so, because even if they draw... I want to keep them off Tron. And even if they draw Thought-Knots here to take Skyclave, we can then just Charming Prince blink the Skyclave. Alright, they bricked. That was a really good draw. Attack for 5. They go to 12. And then I can go Charming Prince, blink the Grief. Pass turn. Take a peek at their hand. Take all his dust because we don't really care about Thought-Knots here. Alright, they drew the Tron land. So, trigger on the stack. I'm going to Ephemerate the Skyclave. They get a 1/1, I kill the Thought-Knots here. But then we can Ephemerate the Grief on our turn. Yeah, let's do that. So, kill this. So they could take the Skyclave, but then we can just Ephemerate the Grief on our upkeep and take the last Thought-Knots here. Now, granted, they do have Tron, so they have a lot of good draws, but... Alright, they have no cards. Guess that's not bad. So we can fire up the Skyclave in case they draw the +3, -3 card. And I'm willing to pay life to sack the Silent Clearing here. So they go to 6. I think they were supposed to chump block there and stay at 8. I don't know if it would have mattered, but... They drew... Wormcoil Engine. Okay, so they're dead to... I think any flicker effects. Well, not necessarily. And we only have 5 damage. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. A little late to the party there, Fulminator Mage. Well, that's actually good, right? Because I can just attack for 4 and hope if they draw a land, they're dead. Because they attack, I block sack. Okay, yeah. I mean, if they draw a good card, like card or something, then maybe they can get back in this, but the Fulminator Mage does give me a lethal line. Because if I equip this, it's only 5 damage, so I think that's just worse. Not missing anything, right? Yeah. And if I attack with everything, they just double block the grief, gain 6. So removal spell, I guess they can't cast Dismember, so it would have to be Spatial Contortion. Because they can cast Spatial Contortion so that I can't block plus sacrifice before they gain life. Let's see what they drew. I guess even if they drew, like, Karn the Great Creator, they attack 6, gain, they go to 8. I don't know. I don't really know what their out is. All is Dust obviously would be good, but... Okay, they're choosing to go to attacks. Okay, never mind, they're dead. Yeah, I was going to say, once they go to attacks, they just have no outs because I just block sack, blow up their land, they can't do anything post-combat, so... that was pretty cool first showing. We kind of did the thing with Grief, and that felt pretty busted. So, yeah, hope you enjoyed the game. See you back in just a little bit for round number 2. All right, everybody. We are back here for round number 2. I played against this person last night, and they were playing Rakdos Shadow. So, I wonder if they're still playing the same deck. Well, we have the nuts, so I keep. I'm going to pitch... And I just pitch Rebirth and cast Evil, right? Because I just lose... Yeah, it's the same thing. So let's go Urborg first. Cast Grief, exile Rebirth. Always evoke trigger on the stack first. You can peep their hand first. Not that that matters against this matchup specifically, but... So I'm going to take 2 cards. I think I'm just going to take Channeler and Crash Through. Maybe just Channeler Shadow. Yeah, I guess just nah. Not sure what the last card I want to take is. I guess it kind of doesn't matter. No, I'll just take Shadow. I guess this is worse if they draw Bolt, because then I go to Charming Prince my Grief and then they bolt it. But if by taking Crash Through, it means, like, you know, they're guaranteed to just hold up mana. But at least this way, I think if they brick, they might just cast Crash Through, and then I can freely go for the Prince on Grief. Unless they draw a discard spell. Alright, they cast Crash Through. That is acceptable. So now I will attack for 4. Charming Prince my Grief. It does shrink the Grief, but I don't think that matters too much. Alright, exile the Grief. Let's see what they're working with. They have acquired a Shadow and a Swift Spear and a Scourge. I think I'm gonna take Death Shadow Because I can play around the Scourge a little bit better. And this also requires them to invest more mana. Like, they just have to tap out for Scourge. And I'm at 19, it's a 2-mana 1/1. And I can just, like, try to avoid taking damage at as much as possible. Obviously, I have a Pain Land in play that taps for white, but... Alright, Mountain, Scourge. They have Blood Crypt, Swift Spear, X. White Source would be good. That's the opposite of a White Source. I'm just going to attack. I think attacking is fine. I can't really block. So they're 8s. I get to start growing the Scourge, which is a little scary, but in order for the Scourge to be potent enough, they kind of have to attack with both the Swift Spear and the Scourge, and then they have to take 5 on the Crackback and go to 3, and... see what they do. They also have a Shock Land as their 3rd land, so they might not want to pay 2 life for that. Alright, 2 Swift Spears. So Blood Crypt, X. I have to imagine they're not attacking right. Well, maybe they attack with 2 things, and then hold back the 3/3. Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, I will take 2. They play tap Blood Crypt, makes sense. We need a White Source here. Kind of the opposite of a White Source. So we don't know what their last card is. Alright, I'm going to attack with Grief and just pass. Hold up Rebirth. I think there's actually no reason to play the Rebirth, because it doesn't allow me to cast these cards anyways, and I think it's better to just have this up. But we need a White Source pretty quickly. They drew Crash Through. Okay. Crash Through is an interesting one to be playing. Shoving. Am I dead to TBR? So I can block and rebirth it? The thing is, I think they might just cast a removal spell on the Grief. In which case... okay, no, never mind. I'm gonna say, if they cast a removal spell on Grief, I just rebirth it. Let's see, yikes. They have 1 card left. Alright, I really, really need to find a White Source. Oh, no. This game was going so well for us. They drew out of it pretty well. So, what happens if I attack with both? They double block Grief, then I rebirth it, and then I die. So that can't happen. What if I attack with just Grief? They double block, I rebirth it, I go to 11, and then I die. I guess I have to pass, block, rebirth the Grief, and just hope that that somehow works out. It's my only out, right? I can't attack with anything here. Man, I didn't think I was going to lose this game, but they drew very, very well. They drew back-to-back Scourges. I mean, the Crash Through was whatever, but back-to-back Scourges is tough. After we took their 2 shadows. Like, we took all of their threats, and then they just drew mono threats. So that's kind of tough, but... Some of they also drew TBR. I guess I technically don't have to block both. I mean, I die to Bolt if I don't block both. I'm dead to Bolt anyways, right? Just never beating Bolt. So I go to 11 and take 9 and go to 2. Alright, I'm at 2. What you got? Okay. So their last card is Marshflots. Now they put Lurrus in their hand. Alright. White Source still maybe gets us out of this. Huh. I'm at 2. Oh, I can just kill both Scourges. They go to 20. Because they gain 15. Alrighty then. Well, that's a thing. Question is, am I attacking? I don't think so, no. I'm just going to pass. Okay. Maybe I'm supposed to main phase that while I know they didn't have a removal spell in their hand, because what they can do is they can actually push their own Scourge that I target with Solitude. And if they do that, then they get to keep the Scourges. Huh. Yeah, I guess I should have main phased it. 218. I'm not missing anything, right? This works the way I think it does. It's going to be a tough slog, but... Okay. That's step 1. And now they can just replay the Scourge. The nice thing about replaying Scourge is it's only a 1/1, right? Well, I guess they have a fetch. I wonder why they didn't get a Shockland there. Kind of surprised. Just give me a white source, please. White source. So I can kill the Lurrus. White source, please. They're playing Channeler. Interesting. How did I know that was going to happen? I guess Marshflots also wouldn't have done it. Oh, God. That is so unfortunate. Alright, well, now I have to sack this in case I draw like a... I'm just going to say Shambling Vents. So they have land, creature, sorcery. I mean, I'm at 2. I'm dead at pretty much every instant anyways. I think I have to kill their Lurrus. Feels bad. I'm at 2. Alright, I'm dead to any removal spell anyways, I think. I'm dead to any instant, so... I just don't... Like, I can't really afford to play around anything at this point. I'm just dead to a lot of cards. Red. Red probably... Oh, hold. 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 Okay. Don't bin an instant. Or an artifact. Alright. So they take... I don't know. Probably Batterskull? Doesn't matter. Alright. We need a lot of help here. I'm at 2. Honestly? I guess if I attack with both and take 1 damage, assuming they brick, then I can't guess Skyclave Apparition if I draw it. Does it change the math if I attack with both? 5 them to 9, take 1, and then it's a 3-turn clock as opposed to... No, I don't actually think it changes the math, and I think Skyclave is, like, one of my ways. I mean, I just think it's so unlikely I win this game at this point, but... You never know. Crazier things have happened. Alright, we died. We died. That was a sweet game. Thought we were gonna... that game was so back and forth, and I think we easily win that game if we just, like, find a second white source before, you know, turn 17, and it happens to be our second silent clearing when we're at 2, so... A little unfortunate there. Alright, champion push, good. Shriekmaw, not very good. It only kills Channeler, but Channeler I don't really care about anyways, and I'm more concerned with Shadow and Scourge, so I'm not going to keep in Shriekmaw. I'm not a huge fan of Maul. Well, maybe I am. Blood Mage seems bad. I think we can just shave on Charming Prince as usual. I guess Charming Prince is nice against Scourge, because you can just gain some life. Could cut Flicker Wisp. I'm trying to think of spots where Maul is good. Maul's good if they deal themselves a million damage, and then you could just slam them all for a lethal attack, but I don't know. I think they have enough removal spells that makes Maul bad, and then I'll just cut one Flicker Wisp. Just do this. They also probably have Kolaghan's Command, but I can't afford to cut Batterskull. It's just too good. Ugh, Sand's bad. Sand doesn't do anything. Well, we're missing a white card. I think I have to keep this. I'm gonna hang on to the Rebirth for now. If I play Channeler on 1, I'll just push it. Probably. Yeah, I'll just push it. Do I even care about that? It's good to use my mana if I draw Stoneforge Mystic, so I think it's fine. Even though I really don't care about it that much. Well, that was the reason to not do it. Probably got punished there. I'm going to play this land because it comes into play tapped, because I don't have a swamp. I'll just pass. This feels like a very close matchup. Very, very close matchup. Crash through. I feel like that card should probably not be in their deck, but... I guess you can justify it because you have Channeler, so just like any random 1-mana cantrip is fine with Channeler, but I'd rather just play more discard spells at that point if I was doing that. Alright, still have nothing going on here. Just pass. I guess the nice thing is we're not taking damage from our lands or their creatures, so they can't play Scourge yet. So that's at least good. Alright, can't kill that. Yep, they have a bauble. Alright, take 2. Black-white Scourge. If only I had a white guard. Because their Swiss Spear is what is 2 power right now, but on my turn it's going to be 1 power. Alright, that resolves. Yikes. I have 3 cards, so I can take a damage to play Grief. Kind of have to. This feels bad. Our draw did not line up well against theirs. Bolt, Scourge, Thoughtseize. Alright, I'm going to take Thoughtseize and hope that they slam the second Scourge and I just get to annihilate them with Solitude. So they have Bolt, Scourge. Come on, play the second Scourge. What's the worst that could happen? Seems like they are choosing to not do that. Unfortunate. Oh. It looked like they were going to cast the Bolt, but... Come on. Play the Scourge. Play the Scourge. They're not doing it. They're bolting me. That is aggressive. That is aggressive. So their last card's Scourge. Oh. That's 16. I'm going to chump block here. What I'm going to do is I think I'm going to play God the Shrine tapped. Just to make it not the most obvious thing in the world. No, I changed my mind. I have to play it untapped, I think. So this is kind of awkward. And we'll see how this plays out. But if they just immediately go to attacks, it's kind of unfortunate. Because then I just have to, like... I think I have to proactively play the Solitude, even though I don't want to. Yeah, because I don't think I can afford to take 5. Especially with the clearing in play. But... I think I might also just block the Swift Spear. Or at least attempt to. Unless they have Bolt. But... And I can't really go for Solitude, pitch Solitude, and Rebirth, because if they just have a removal spell, it's so bad for me. They boarded in Kozilek's return. They have 2 cards, one of which is a Scourge. Alright, I'll just pass. Hold up Solitude again. Okay. I think if they attack with Swift Spear, I'm just gonna take a damage. Yeah. Okay. Go 17. Black, black. Are they choosing to play Scourge before combat? Why would they do that? Okay. Are they not attacking? No attacks, and I'm at 6. I guess I'll just sack the clearing. It's kind of a free roll. It's not horrendous. That's not the best. So if I play Skyclave, target the Swift Spear, they play Luris Bauble. And then next turn I can Solitude the Luris. I think I like that play. I guess they can just play the Swift Spear from their graveyard, but it's probably fine with me. Because I still get to kill the Luris either way. Unless they draw Thoughtseize. It seems that they did not draw Thoughtseize. Because they are playing the Luris. Yeah, that's fine. And I imagine they're playing Swift Spear, right? No, they're playing Bauble. Better for me. Seal of Fire. Sure. I guess they're going to try and burn me out. I guess I could just save the Solitude, right? Go to 4. Seems fine. I don't know why they're doing that main phase. Interesting. So they have 2 cards, one of which is a Scourge. And they have access to no more Lurises, which is not bad for us. Cauldra complete. I think I just have to pass here. I guess the issue is we just don't really have a threat, but that was a decent draw because we're on 6 lands. So now if we draw a 7th Mana Source, we can play that. Dragon's Rage Channeler. Okay. There's no way they're not playing Scourge, right? Okay. So now I can kill the Channeler, which also kills the Scourge. It's not bad. Alright, exile the Channeler. They go to 20, kills the Scourge. That was a really good draw. Now I feel pretty far ahead. Let me start gaining life off the Solitude, which makes it harder for them to kill us. Solitude is an absolute beating against Death Shadow. My goodness. Wow. Did not realize how insane that card was against Death Shadow. I mean, I knew it like when I saw it was spoiled. The card looks insane, but... Drew Ephemerate. So... They have one card left. Huh. I think I upkeep the Ephemerate. Obviously, they could have a removal spell. Oh, you know what? No, I should main phase it in case they have another Kozilek's return. Yeah, so I should have done this first and then went to attacks. But they only have one card. I think I need to do this before they... Yeah, before they gain access to more removal. So I missed 4 points of damage. It's not clear that I want to... Yeah, I guess I would have attacked there. Like, now if I draw a land, I'm just going to shove. Crash through. Okay. I thought that I wanted to hold on to the Ephemerate, but if I was going to end up casting it anyways, it's just better to cast it first. Because then I just get in more damage. Kill all of your stuff. Now they're going to kill it. They actually drew Kozilek's turn. Terminate. Okay. Got it. Land? Not a land, but that should probably seal it up. I'm just going to entwine it now. Might as well. Alright, I go to 16. They have no graveyard. Alright. Black-red. Kroxa. Guess that was a reason to wait. But they're far enough away from turning it on that it shouldn't matter too much. That also shouldn't matter. Just draw a card. Probably should have played my lane first, but... Again, we're kind of in garbage time at this point. We go to 11. They have no Lurrus, they have no graveyard, they have no hand. Can't imagine a card. Maybe another Kozilek's return. I guess that's their out. They could draw Kozilek's return. They have another one of those. I mean, I'm kind of all in at this point anyway, so I'm not going to play around it. Okay, they're off it. I like the way I sideboarded, so let's go to game 3. That was a nice showcase of how absurd Solitude is against Death Shadow and Scourge of the Skyclaves. Because when you cast that card, it's a beating. Like that game, we killed 2 Scourges with it. We killed the Channeler and a Scourge with it. It's just... Oof. If Solitude is a big player, I don't... as much as I like Death Shadow, if Solitude is seeing play... I'm gonna refer to playing something else. I mean, their deck is resource-based, Thoughtseize stuff, so I'm just gonna keep a hand with a functional 7-card hand. Kind of sucks because we have 2 Ephemerates, which is not the best, but I don't know. I just like keeping 7 cards against Thoughtseize decks. Quality isn't as important as quantity in matchups like this. Like, they're not hyper aggressive. They have some aggressive draws, but for the most part, their deck is kind of, especially in a matchup like this, Lurrus is the most important card in their deck. Because we usually trade a bunch of resources early. Alright, Shambling Vent. Your go. I don't really know why they wouldn't bobble first. Oh, because they have a discard spell. Okay. Yeah. So they would rather bobble the top card because they're going to cast... They know they're casting a discard spell anyways. At least that's my read. Nope, no discard spell. Interesting. So maybe they just misclicked. Because you always should bauble and upkeep. Unless you have a discard spell. Why would they post-combat that? Confused. Because they could have hit Delirium. Not sure why they would post-combat that. And they took Skyclave, because they probably have an answer for Stoneforge. Well, I only have one choice to get anyways, so... Cauldra, your go. Guess I could have waited on the Stoneforge till I had Ephemerate up, but... because I drew the Batterskull, it makes it, like, less relevant. If I didn't draw the Batterskull, I think there's a reason to wait, because then I can get the other equipment, but, like, I'm not actually getting anything out of the Stoneforge. I guess I'm protecting one, you know, putting one of these into place. Maybe that was worth it. Maybe I should have just played this and gained 3 life. Might have been a better play. One Scourge. Okay. So I can get a basic Plains, Charming Prince gain 3, Ephemerate the Prince gain 3, kill this. I like that. Let's make that play. Alright, basic Plains. So I need second white source. I will gain 3 life. I will gain 3 life. Kill their Scourge. Pass. I guess this is worse versus removal spell, but I'd rather... They know I have 2 Ephemerates, so I want to get value out of at least one of these Ephemerates, even if they kill the second one. Like, if I just hold it up, they just attack with everything. They're the ones who... I'm the one who has to act first, so... In that specific situation, I think it's better to do it this way. Like, yeah, that sucks, but if I hold up mana, they just don't cast their spells, so... Because they know about the Ephemerates. So I don't really think I accomplish anything by holding up stuff. Well, I guess we're going to cast Batterskull and hope that's good enough. May or may not be. Maybe they have Kolaghan's Command. Nonetheless, this has been a sweet match, for sure. Not trying Solitude kind of sucks, but... Alright, give me a Solitude here. Solitude! That's a heater. That is an absolute heater. I'm just going to hardcast it, and I'm going to main phase it. What a heater of a draw. Alright, so they have Luris, 2 unknowns. God, Solitude is so messed up against Death Shadow. My goodness. They have a Bolt, but... it did its job. They don't have a Bolt. Well, they know about Ephemerate, so they can't just play Luris, right? Oh, I see. Okay. So the last card's Luris. I mean, I have Batterskull, so... play Batterskull. So the best they can do is Luris, maybe Scourge if they find a land, but then I can just potentially push the Scourge. Hopefully draw like a Skyclave or another Solitude. So, are they going to go Luris Scourge? I assume so, right? Yeah, they have to, I think. Alright, we need a removal spell so I can kill the Luris and the Scourge. There it is. That should seal it. White, this, Skyclave. Skyclave the Luris. Push this. Alright. And they know about the Ephemerate. I don't really see a way out for them now. Guess I could have Ephemerated the Skyclave proactively, but I'd rather just save the Ephemerate, because the 1-2 is just irrelevant. So I'd rather save this in case they draw on like a Scourge or a Shadow or something. Sure. Black. Alright, well, they know about the Ephemerate, so I'm just going to cast it. Maybe I'd rather... Okay, well, they're off. I was going to say, maybe I would rather have them have a 1-2 than a 4-4. I'm not sure, but... Yeah, once we... The Skyclave was the deal sealer there. That was a long match. I hope you enjoyed it. Basically, the power of Solitude against Death Shadow. So, with that, I'll see you back in just a little bit for round number 3. Alrighty, YouTube, we're back here for round number 3. Our opponent has revealed an Obosh. So, what do we have here? We have a 1-lander. I think if I had a black card, if any one of these 4 cards were black and I had turn 1 Grief Ephemerate, I would keep. But as is, I think I should take a mulligan. I guess I could keep that and try and spike a black card. Okay, well, this hand's the nuts. So I'm in. Grief, Pitch Rebirth, Evilit, Profit. Hopefully they don't leave up Lightning Bolts. They have Ragavan. Alright, so land, Grief, Pitch Rebirth. So Evoke on the stack. So remember, this is discard, not exile. I guess I kind of have to take Blood Moon because I don't have any basic swamps right now. And we'll just evil this. We'll take a Pyromancer. Alright. Best turn. Hopefully they don't draw exactly Lightning Bolts. I actually don't want to... I guess I still want to exile the Grief. Yeah, I was going to say I don't want to make it a 3-2 because the Ragavan, but the Charming Prince also blocks Ragavan, so I think that's okay. Cauldron complete, huh? Best draw on the deck. Alright, attack for 4. They certainly didn't draw Bolt because they would have just fired it off and attacked, so we don't have to play around Bolt here. So let's exile Grief, take the Seasoned Pyromancer, and try and cut them off cards. Oh, well, no, Stomp doesn't do it either way because it's a 4-3, I was going to say. Yeah, any removal spell that they drew, they would have just cast main phase. Stomp can, I guess, kill it on the way back, but... Actually, Stomp would be quite bad for us, because then they would play a 4-3. Wait, they didn't cast Stomp? I mean, I'm going to take it. I think I'd rather take... This is a guarantee 2-for-1, so is Pyromancer, but this is a removal spell on a 4-3, and Pyromancer is 2 random cards. I'm actually kind of surprised they didn't cast the Stomp there. Right? Makes sense to me. Interesting. Alright. Pyromancer, pitch 2 lands. Or, pitch a land, yeah. What do we got? Urborg, Tomb of Yawgmoth. Not the best draw. Do I want to attack with the Grief? They double block. Then we're kind of just chilling. I guess I should set Clearing first in case I draw Ephemerate or Plains. Alright, I think I'll take that trade. I think I'm okay with that. I guess attack is worse if they draw a removal spell for Charming Prince, because then they get to hit me with the Ragavan. But they also have to worry about me drawing Ephemerate, so they may not go for the removal spell if they draw it. Kind of depends. Alright, after a little delay there, they went in the tank for quite a bit. Alright, they attacking with Ragavan, I will block. This kind of signifies a second Ragavan, but I'd rather not get hit by that thing, because it generates a lot of stuff. Not a Skyclave. Definitely not trading here, so might as well attack. So they go to 8. So I shouldn't F6. So they think I might have Ephemerate. So they can start activating Pyromancer, which can double block Grief. Not great for me. Green. Sure. Ooh, if they don't respond to the Pyromancer and I draw Kaya's Guile, because they should have fetched on their turn. Did not draw Kaya's Guile, because I could have responded to the fetch and made them sack and exile their graveyard, and they would have just got annihilated, but did not draw Kaya's Guile. Let's just go ahead and fire up the vents, because they can't double block that. I don't really want them to trade for Grief, so I'm just not going to attack with it. Kind of at a bit of a stalemate here, though. Really need to find... I mean, even land lets us Solitude the Pyromancer. Like, it's not that bad. We're not in the absolute worst shape. But then it's still hard for us to attack because they have the 2 elementals back. Kind of really depends on what they draw. But we might be able to get out of this. Cauldron might bail us out. Very close game right now. Unclear. Well, I don't know. Not sure. I don't think I'm ahead, but okay. They decided to Obosh, which we have Solitude for, so that's not much of a concern. This is damage. Alright, no blocks. Alright, Urborgs, we don't have to take damage. No, because I'd rather get a basic in case they decide to cast Blood Moon. I want to make sure I get a basic swamp. So I'll play flats, and I could attack with both, force a double block, Solitude that, but then they just have an unchecked Obosh, which is not good for me, so I'm just going to pass and hold up the Solitude. It kind of signifies... I guess it doesn't really... It doesn't, like, 100% tell them that I have Solitude, because I could just be holding up a Shambling Vent block. But there's a good chance they may not jam the Obosh into the 5 mana because of Solitude. Alright, so they go to 9, I go to 12. There's still 2 spells left in graveyard, so not a ton left. They are choosing to cast the Obosh. Now I could exile the Klothys. No, I think I still want to exile the Obosh. Do I? Especially because if I draw Skyclave, I can Skyclave the Klothys, whereas I can't Skyclave the Obosh. So I'm just gonna kill the Obosh. Get basic swamp. Kill the Obosh, which turns off the Klothys. That's why we're casting it now. So we take no damage from the Klothys. Arbor Elf. Okay. That is not a good draw. They're at 12. What happens if I attack with both? And they just trade? Trying to think of like the racing situation, how the math works out. I attack with both. They go Pyromancer on Solitude, double block Grief, trade happens. Now there are 4 spells in the graveyard. Actually, well, 5 with the Pyromancer, but they're obviously not going to exile the Pyromancer. Guess they could also put the Elf in front to make another spell. This is tough. I think I am not going to attack. Hope that they brick on a spell, and then I can go Cauldron turn after you equip the Solitude. I think that's my game plan. I'm going to just try and kind of wait out the Klothys a little bit. Gonna sweat it out. But kind of depends on what they draw this turn. Alright, looks like they bricked. Might be in an okay spot here. Alright, Slam Cauldra. Do we attack? I don't see why not. I guess attacking means they just chump block here. They didn't chump block. I feel like they would rather turn this into 2 tokens. I guess they think they're going to get a block. They're going to get a block on something else at some point, so maybe that's why they didn't do that. I mean, I'm going to make them have the removal spell. I am 100% slamming this here. It's a little aggressive, but even if they kill the Solitude, then my Germ just stays alive, so... But if this happens, I don't think they can win anymore. Yeah. No, I don't think they can win. (8/7) First strike, haste, indestructible, trample, lifelink. Haste doesn't matter at this point, but, you know. Semantics. I mean, I was going to say I didn't think I was going to... Obviously, I don't know how I won this game. I was going to say I don't know how I won this game, but I know how I won. They just drew a bunch of lands in a row, so. Red. What do they have? Seasoned Pyromancer. Okay. And I guess they can survive for a turn. Can they? So they put Clothis on Solitude. They have to put another Toughness there, which is 2 damage go to 1, and then they double block Grief, double block Vent. Okay, yeah, so they're not dead. But again, I just don't really see how they beat an 8/7 indestructible lifelink trample. First strike nonetheless. Not that first strike and indestructible is such a weird combination. Oh, the first time that the exile, I think, has ever come up for me. If they block with Clothis, it gets exiled. So that's not even a good block. Unless they can somehow make a lethal attack here, which I don't know if it's possible. Glorybringer's only 13, right? 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 plus 4 is 13. So, yeah, I don't know. I don't know. How about a Shriekmaw? 2, 4, 6. How much devotion do they have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So if I cast Shriekmaw, kill this, they still have 7 devotion. Which means this would still be turned on. So I'll just attack first. I think I'm only going to send the Solitude. Yeah, I think so. So I will first strike. I guess it doesn't really matter the ordering, right? Yeah, it doesn't really matter the ordering. Well, it's actually better to do it this way because then I exile the Clothis and a Pyromancer. Yeah, this is better to do it this way. Because then these two get exiled. So dealing 1 to the Pyromancer is better. Because it gets exiled as opposed to go to the graveyard. Okay. You have 2 tokens. They lose both of those. Alright. Oh! Am I not allowed to choose the order on how these go on the stack? Because Magic Online did not allow me to choose the order, and I would want to exile this first because it specifically says exile that creature. So if this goes to happen and Clothis is no longer a creature, I don't believe it would have been exiled, but I didn't have the opportunity to stack the triggers, so I'm not really sure there. That was weird. In any case, up a game. Fatal Push and Auriok Champion, I think, are the considerations here. The rest of our sideboard is for other matchups. I'm not even sure that Auriok is that good against them, but it is quite good against specifically Ragavan. And I think these versions are a lot more red-based, playing a lot less green cards. So I think Champion is good. And I think I'm going to cut all of the Charming Princes. Kind of seems to be the card that I'm just cutting the most. Which maybe means it shouldn't be in the deck, but maybe it's just one of those good Game 1 cards that you just always happen to sideboard out. I'm going to keep the Kai'Scowl because it's pretty good against... It not only is it decent against Klothys because you can exile a full graveyard, but it's also okay against Pyromancer. You know, if they block with Pyromancer early, you can do that kind of thing. Do I want to keep this hand? Turn 1 Godless Shrine. Turn 2 Plains Auriok Champion. This hand just feels so mediocre. I'm going to ship it. I think we can do better. I mean, this is kind of the same hand. I guess I'll keep this. Put back Clearing. Alright, they don't have a monkey. Play Shambling Vent. I'm not going to cast either of my Evoke cards. Well, there's no reason to cast Solitude, but I'm not going to cast Grief. I'm going to see if I can wait to draw an Ephemerate or one of the black spells. Alright, what do they got? What do they have for me? They're playing Obosh. They can't have a 2-drop here. Yeah. Excuse me. So do I Shriekmaw that, or do I play Champion? I think I just slam Shriekmaw. I think that's fine. It does turn off the ability to Grief plus Ephemerate, but there's a good chance they're holding up Bolt anyways, so... I wouldn't really want to play into that, you know? If they have a removal spell. Alright, pass. Oh, you know what? I should have played this in case they kept in Blood Moon. I should have got Basic Swamp that turn. Didn't get punished, luckily, but... Alright, next turn we can hardcast Grief. Turn after, hardcast Solitude. I mean, like, that's the thing about this deck, is obviously you get to do your thing with the turn 1 Grief, Ephemerate it, you know, basically Mind Twist them, and sometimes that's good enough to win by itself. But these cards are just not that bad at, you know, at face value. They're just not that bad, you know? Solitude is just obscene. You saw how good it was against Death Shadow. Alright, they're going to pillage. That's fine. I'm just not going to fetch now. Because I kind of want to draw lands. That's also a really good draw. But we kind of expect they have Lightning Bolt, so it's not the best draw in the world. We'll just get the... I guess we already have the Cauldron in our hand. So maybe if we assume they have Lightning Bolt, it's better to get Maul here. Yeah, sure. I guess that makes sense. I guess I can buy that argument. So now if they kill this, we have Maul to, like, have a decent threat that's hard for them to kill. And if they don't have a removal spell for Stoneforge, then they're probably in trouble. This looks like a bolt. It is. If only I had an Ephemerate there. Or a Rebirth, or an Undying Evil. Utopia Sprawl is fine. They're going to put Obosh in their hand? Oh, I hope I draw a land here. That is not a land. So I'll just get a swamp and maul up the champion, I guess. Sure. Attack for 3. Beatdowns. Beatdowns coming in. May or may not be able to just race the Obosh. Because it chunks me for 6. But I have a 2-turn clock with the Flicker Wisp. Might be able to just race it. Okay. Season Pyromancer. That's some more Auriok triggers. I'll take that. I can even flicker their Season Pyromancer so I gain more life off a champion. Obviously, I'm not going to do that, but kind of cute. May or may not come up at some point. So again, we know about Obosh. I'm pretty happy that I got this Maul, though. It's just a good clock. Alright. They said go. Marsh Flats. So now we can hardcast Grief. Let's attack first. Grief is especially dope because we know they have... Oh, they discarded the Obosh. Wow. Surprising. I'm gonna get basic planes because if they somehow have... If they have Blood Moon, I can just let them have it. Because I'm casting my only double black card, and you know what I mean? All my cards are now double white, so... What are they casting? Veil of Summer. Okay, sure. You got me. That is more than fine. Now I can even flicker the Elemental so they don't have a second blocker for Grief, and that's 6 damage. Fury. So they get to kill the Grief. Sure. They're at 8. Alright. Attack for 3. And I think what I'm gonna do is play Flicker Wisp. And I think I'm gonna blink the Maul to attach the Flicker Wisp onto the Maul. So what that accomplishes is allows me to get a 5/3 Flicker Wisp, which doesn't die to a top deck stomp, but without paying 2 life. So I guess that means I don't gain a life off the champion, but I think this is more important. I could be wrong about this, but... It also just leaves me with a better blocker up. For whatever that's worth. I guess it requires me to use 2 mana next turn if they have a removal spell here to re-equip to the champion. But I think that's okay. Did they do actually have Stomp as their last card? I guess I was playing around top deck Stomp and not them having Stomp as their last card, but... So this is 6, 7, 8, 9. We go to 12. I mean, I guess we can also just attack them for 3 and hold up... Or attack them for 1, put them to 3 and hold up Solitude. Which is probably still good enough, because then we just kill this, block with Bone Crusher. Yeah, I mean... We're still miles ahead. I can also just not attack with Champion, which is good too. Yeah, I don't think the 1 damage is worth it. I'll just pass. Passing a Champion also pretty highly incentivizes them to attack, although they pretty much know I have Solitude now that I didn't equip them all, but... I mean, what are they supposed to do about it? I could have drawn a removal spell, but... This matchup seems rough for them. Solitude has been really impressive. Really, really like that card so far. I think that might be one of the Evoke card that I think was initially like super, super hyped up, but the first couple of days maybe didn't have the highest press, you know? But I think as the format develops and as we see what creature decks sort of emerge, we kind of can see that Solitude is going to be probably a huge player moving forward. Alright, so exile the Fury. Oh, they're off it. Okay. Well, yeah, that was a beating. I was just going to eat their whole board, basically. Yeah, Solitude has been really, really good. I think we're 3-0, are we? That match took a while. 3-0. So, hope you enjoyed the games. See you back in just a little bit. Round number 4. Alrighty, you two back here for round number 4. Round number 4. This hand is weird. This hand has a lot of Stoneforge Mystics. No second black card for the Grief. No third land for the Skyclave. I feel like the third Stoneforge Mystic is kind of bad. I don't know. I'm going to try and keep this hand. I think this is a pretty speculative keep, but I want to see what happens. I want to see if you can keep a hand like this. Stoneforge Mystic is good. Okay, there's our black card. I'm gonna slow roll it, though. I'm gonna late on Shambling Vents and try and maybe spike, like, Grief. If I draw a black card, maybe I can go Grief, hold up a mana, take their counterspell, or something like that. Although if they just hold up mana, I probably can't go for the Grief. Sprite Dragon. Okay. Alright, black card is not bad. So, and this card also kind of sucks against them. So let's just go exile this, take a peek, do it this way, see what they have. Oh. The Fun Police. So I think I should probably take... If I take Iteration Bolt, I have to pay 2 life off the Rebirth, so I get a 17. Huh. I guess I wasn't supposed to play my land. I think if I didn't play my land, what I would have done is just take an Iteration, let the Grief die, play Rebirth as a tap land, and then I can go on turn 3, play in Skyclave Apparition. So I should not have played my land first. That was a small mistake. Now I'm kind of priced into taking 2 cards, because the tap lane just doesn't really do anything for me. And if I let it die and play Stoneforge, their hand is just all answers to Stoneforge, so that doesn't really accomplish much. I think I'm going to take Iteration at a Bolt, but I could be wrong about that. Alright, so they have Bolt, Dart, Slash... Right? Yeah, Bolt, Dart, Slash. They drew Mana Morphos. That is quite good for them. Into Soulscar Mage. They are choosing to kill the Grief. I was wondering if they were going to do that. Alright. Kind of just mess with them a little bit. So we take 3, go to 14. Really need to find a land here. Untapped land, preferably. Okay, that is step 1. I have to kill Sprite Dragon ASAP. I'm still not in great shape. Because their hand is just still pretty loaded. And bolt that. Are they going to fire off the dart? Maybe. They get a 2/2. Lava Spike. I haven't seen that one in a while. Okay, we're at 8. That is actually a really good draw, because if they go to kill the Stoneforge Mystic... 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So I got a 1. I have to assume that they basically broke on spells for the next 2 turns. And then we can start going ham with Batterskull. Maybe they proactively go after the Stoneforge, and then I can kind of get them with Ephemerate. So I'm going to get Batterskull, because I kind of have to. So, get Batterskull, see what they do. If they brick, they may go for double Lava Dart. And again, I mean, true Lava Spike. Oh, it's so rough. It's so rough for me. Because now they just attack with both. Maybe not. 3, 4, 5. Okay. I mean, I guess it doesn't matter. I still have to chump block, right? So I still don't have any outs. Yeah, because this is 6. God, the Lava Spike is such a good draw there. So I could have got Maul, but it just doesn't matter. So I chump block this, go to 3. Do I have any outs? Skyclave, I guess. No, I don't wish to cast this card. I think it has to be Skyclave. Skyclave the Soul Scar, take 2, go to 1. I guess I can play 2 Stone Forges, chump block something. Hope they brick for the next 2 draw steps. Alright, this is our plan. We got the whole arsenal in hand. I am not playing around anything. Maybe it's better to block the mage and hope they don't have any spells, right? Because we can't win if they have a spell anyways. So maybe it's better to block the mage, take 2, go to 1. And that way we can put both equipments into play. Well, I can't cast this, so I guess I'll just play this. I guess I could if I gained 4 life off the Batter Skull, but... Alright, draw a land, please. Land, please. Please land? If they draw a land, I think I'm in a really good spot. I think this is the one turn that they have to draw a spell. That's not going to do it. I think we're going to win this game, because now we can just suit up Maul and Batterskull. Yeah, we should be good. Crazy game. If I suit up Maul on Batterskull, go to 8. I guess I die to exactly Vapor Snag? If I just hold up Solitude and the Stoneforge Mystic, I go to 6. They drop Vapor Snag. Oh. Oh, I know what I can do. I can just do it this way. I can cast the Maul and hold up Stoneforge for... Yeah, this is way better. Cast the Maul, hold up Stoneforge for Cauldra. This might just have another blocker. Yeah, this is way better. So I still get in for 6, go to 8, and then... Yeah, this is way better. Okay. I think they maybe had a draw step towards Vapor Snag, but they're off it. Game 2. Fatal Push, Auriok Champion, quite good. Everything else is kind of bad. Charming Prince, somewhat mediocre. I want to keep all the removal. I think I want all 3 equipment. Cauldra is definitely the weakest one because Stoneforge is just dead 90% of the time you play it because their deck is all removal spells for Stoneforge. The Blood Mage is bad for sure. I think even though Grief is not the greatest card, it's just like it's super high impact with the things that I think I want to keep it. I want to keep the Kai'Sgail. I want to keep all the Shriekmaw effects. Normally I cut Charming Prince, but it is a 2-mana 2/2 that gains 3 life. Maybe that's just not high impact enough. Alright, I'll just cut Charming Prince. Like, yeah, it gains some life, but Auriok Champion is better most of the time, and we gotta cut something. Well, this is turn 1 Grief, so I'm gonna roll with it. Hopefully they play a creature on 1. If they don't play a creature on turn 1, probably just play a tap land. Just play Rebirth and pass. Because I'm obviously not going to go for it into Bolt, but... yeah, alright, go. I'm not going to go for it into the 1 open mana. Their deck just has so many ways to stop it. I mean, I guess... No, I'm dumb. Because I can just take their thing. What am I thinking? Okay, well, they're casting Iteration. Yeah, I don't know what I was thinking there. I brain farted for a little bit. I guess waiting gives me the opportunity to draw another medium black card, because I don't really want to pitch my extra land, because I only have 1 land, you know what I mean? So let's go... Pitch Shriekmaw. I also probably should have played Goblin Shrine untapped there. So I just take their... I think I take Stormwing Slash. Oh, it's so bad if they draw a spell. I think I have to take both Stormwings. I know that they can just slash my Grief, which kind of sucks, but it is what it is. They also might, well, they have to main phase it, right? Because if they don't main phase it, then I have the Ephemerate, so. Alright, so Eyelet, Swift Spear. So they have Slash Unknown. Yeah, they're just going to slash it. Okay, it's dead. It's not that bad, because now we can just Skyclave it. Could be worse. So we'll choose not to cast this. It's a pretty good follow-up. It's also an answer to Stormwing if they find that. And if they put 2 creatures into play, we can just kill their whole board. Lightning Bolt. Okay, that's fine. Oh boy. Yeah, now we just kill everything. And keep a 3/2. Man, this Solitude card is kind of gasoline. They went bottom top. Alright, pitch this. Exile the Stormwing. Exile this. Bess. We're both on nothing. Alright, they topped up. Bottom. Scalding Tarn. I could choose not to cast this, right? I can't. Okay. I will not cast it. Grief, not the best draw in the world, but, you know, we take those. Take the dubs where we can. That's all a 2-turn made up for it, so. Maybe Soulscar Mage, which is acceptable. I have Skyclave Apparition. This is kind of a beating. Kind of an absolute beating. I say they should sack one of these lands. Alright. Pass turn. Guess I shouldn't have 6. Because of Ephemerate. It's a good draw. That might dig them out of this. It's definitely the card they had to draw the most. Because they need multiple cards to get them out of this. But we also have Grief Hardcast next turn, which is just, again, not that bad. Mismatching Ops. That's criminal. That is a criminal offense. Alright, I will cast Grief. I'm a griefer. Alright, 4-0. White-black Ephemerates. Yeah, maybe this deck is just awesome. So, stay tuned. See if we can go ahead and get that 5-0. I'll see you back in just a little bit. Alright, YouTube, you know what time it is. We're 4-0. Let's see if we can get a trophy. Black-white Ephemerate. Let's go. We have Ephemerates, but nothing to do with them. However, we have turn 2 Stoneforge, so I think this hand is okay. I'm not in love with this hand, but... because these Ephemerates are kind of looking pretty bad. I'm just going to play Concealed Courtyard on 1. I can get a basic Plains. I don't want to get randomly punished if I draw, like, back-to-back Courtyards. You never know. It's so unlikely, but at the same time, I think it's fine. Now I have to get Godless Shrine, right? Because I don't want my 3rd land to come into play tapped. So I guess that's the punish as well. But I only have 1 of these, and I have 2 Courtyards, so... what am I getting first? I think I still just start with the Cauldra. Obviously, it's worse if they have a removal spell for the Stoneforge. It's possible I'm supposed to wait until turn 3 to play the Stoneforge, because I have the Ephemerates. They're doing that kind of thing. Okay. This matchup might not be that good for us. We have Rest in Pieces in the sideboard, but don't have a ton else, which is an issue. They are at 13. We get to do this and hold up Blink. So I shouldn't have 6, but... Petty Theft, the Germ Token. So if I ephemerate the Germ Token, their Brazen Borrower goes away. But then if they just have a living end, it just comes back into play. So I actually think I'd rather have it exiled. As weird as that sounds. I don't know if we can beat a living end here, though. Just 3 creatures. Oh, this is tough. This is tough. A little late to the party. If only I had a 4th land, I could cast this. They would living end in response, and then I could respond to their living end, ephemerate my Blood Mage to exile their graveyard. I mean, they shocked. They 100% have it. I guess I have to hope that they have just Brazen Borrower up instead of living end. But I don't think I can beat a living end here. Although, actually, maybe I can. Maybe I'm actually supposed to draw a card, because if I draw Solitude... Huh. Because Solitude can actually just clean up 2 of these things, because I have the Ephemerate. Solitude probably actually gets me out of this. So it's just a question of... I draw a card, go to 16... and they have 10 power, I go to 6, and then Solitude. So I get 1 card deeper to Solitude. I actually think that's better. It's just so likely for them to have the living in here, given that they shocked for the breeding pool. I mean, obviously I could just be getting jebaited with the Brazen Bar. I should have attacked there, but... Oh. Well, I guess I got jebaited. I kind of 5-headed myself into... Yeah, that was kind of weird. Yeah, that was bad. I was just, like, dead set on them having living in this turn, and assumed that they... Yeah, that was bad. That was just a bad play. Alright, we're dead. Now, I don't think Solitude's gonna get us out of this. They have too much stuff. We're getting there anyways. Okay. I don't know if this matchup is bad. Because if we do the thing with Grief on turn 1, that's probably good enough. Alright, we have Rest in Pieces, and I think that's it. I could bring in Fulminator Mage because I'm on the play. It's probably better than some of our other stuff. Like, I think Prince is kind of bad. Skyclave is actually horrifically bad, isn't it? Yeah, Skyclave is not good. I think I'd rather have Charming Prince. Most of their creatures, like, if they do the living end thing, I'm just going to die, and Solitude kills everything. Skyclave only hits... Skyclave doesn't hit Riverwinder, Street Wraith. I guess it hits Curator, but I'm going to do this. I think this is good. Alright, so I should have exiled their graveyard. I still think I would have lost that game, but... Okay, so we have Fulminator Mage, turn 2 Stoneforge, and a Solitude. Sand is pretty close. I think it's a keeper. I think I'm going to keep this. Not 100% sold on it, but... Play Castle first, because that land comes into play tapped. Cycle, cycle, cycle. Okay, that is a decent draw. I will take that. Still think I'm getting the Cauldra. I guess Cauldra is bad against Brazen Borrower. So I can Fulminator them. And not Cauldra. No, I think it's actually better to just Cauldra. Like, it sucks if they have the Borrower, but... It's super annoying if they have the Borrower, which they obviously do. It'd be nice if they had it. Didn't have it both games. Maybe that's a reason to get Batterskull, because then I could potentially pick up the Batterskull. But... Alright, I drew a tap land, which is super awkward. I guess I just cast Fulminator. See what they do. With this. Attack for 1. I may not want to activate the Fulminator yet, although I'm probably just saving Undying Evil for Solitude, so... I think if they go to fetch... I'll just let them fetch. No reason to do it in response. They're bouncing the Fulminator Mage. That's an interesting play. Because now they lose their Borrower? Huh. Not sure why they would make that play. I mean, I guess they don't mind the Borrower being in the graveyard for Living End anyways, but that's a really weird play. So they're just going to put a Borrower and a Curator into play? Well, we have that covered with the Solitude, and we get the Fulminator back. Yeah, this isn't even a good Violent Outburst. We get to kill both of their things and blow up one of their lands. That's hilarious. This is, like, actively bad for them. Alright, Solitude, Pitch Prince. Exile this. Undying Evil to Solitude. Guess they could have Force of Negation. But then they still lose the Curator, and I blow up 2 lands. So, yeah. Interesting. Okay, that was a sweet game. Let's do that again, shall we? Just looking at my sideboard here. Looks good to me. All right, all of the marbles on the line. Can we get there in Game 3? I don't know if this matchup is good or bad. It's tough to say. I feel like it's decent. This hand is not great. It's high upside, though, because if I draw the Undying Evil, we just get to do the thing. And I have turn 2 Stoneforge. I probably should mulligan this hand, but we have a 10-outer to just have the Stone Cold Nuts. Just double grief them. I'm going to play it slow here, because I can double grief next turn, and, well, if I draw a black card, I can double grief. Honestly, I just kind of want the griefs in the graveyard, because it makes their living ends that much more awkward. And I kind of don't want to pitch Fulminator Mage. So now I can grief, pitch grief, and see what's going on. And then play Stoneforge. Yeah, I don't hate that. Given that I didn't draw a black card, I think this is okay. Cycle is fine. Alright, peep their hand. See what they're working with. Alright. 3 Cascade spells, a Force of Negation, and a Brazen Borrower. I think I just take the Force of Negation. I think there's really no point in fighting over the Cascade spells. And taking Force is better if I rip Rest in Peace next turn. Yeah, let's take Force. I think I'm gonna get the Batterskull. I think I learned my lesson on getting Cauldra. I'm gonna get the Batterskull. Alright, so, see if they find a land. They did not. That is step 1. Now I'm just going to Fulminator them. It'll wait until their upkeep. Alright, upkeep, blow up your Sanctum. They may or may not cast the Borrower. Don't really care either way. Looks like they are choosing to cast the Borrower. Sure, that's fine. So they have Violent, Shardless, X. Let's go ahead and Fulminate them again. Let it Adept, pass. Next turn, we can just slam Batterskull. The sick thing about this is, like, even if they eventually find Living End, we just get these 3 back, blow up the rest of their lands, and yeah. I think we are fine. Batterskull. Red. Oh, that's bad. Forgot that that was a magic card. I guess I could have played around that. I think we're still fine. Get Cauldra. Prince. I guess I'm just going to scry 2. I have the Ephemerate anyways. Bottom this, top the nuts. Now we just Blood Mage their graveyard next turn. They can't Cascade this turn. So we should be fine. Nice little 5-0 here. They are off it. 5-0. White-black Ephemerates. Yeah. Deck felt really impressive. Let's go ahead and take a look at the deck here. Yeah. I haven't played. This is the first time I'm playing with the Grief Ephemerate decks, and I wasn't 100% certain how good they were and how powerful they were. But man, Ephemerate, Rebirth, Undying Evil in combination with Grief and Solitude is kind of insane, and this deck feels really good. So that's kind of all I have to say. I appreciate. Hope you enjoyed the hope you enjoyed the video. And if you made it all the way to the end, be sure to like and subscribe. And with that, I'll see you in the next one.